Have you ever wondered what cruelty and compassion have to do with each other? Well, I spoke to a Buddhist monk that served in the Vietnam War, and together we spoke about different spiritual practices. For example, walking from New York to California without a phone. If you want to find out more about his journey and how we can all become more compassionate through Buddhism, watch this podcast. Well, today I'm joined by Anshin, and Anshin, you have a really amazing story. It all starts with the Vietnam War where you were drafted and now you're a Zen Buddhist. So we're going to go through all this, what you learned in the process about spirituality, about healing. But I want to go all the way from the beginning, the first, the where your story started. You were drafted in the Vietnam War. How was that when you were drafted in?
Actually, that's not correct. I wasn't drafted.
Okay.
I enlisted in the military. I volunteered.
You enlisted, you volunteered. Okay.
Yeah, I volunteered to go into the military, and I went through my basic training, my advanced training, and I did some specialized training, and then I was sent to Europe. And the moment I turned 18, I volunteered to go to Vietnam.
Gotcha. And you were a helicopter pilot?
Yeah, no, a helicopter crew chief.
Crew
So
chief.
that meant I was responsible for the maintenance of the helicopter, and I was also responsible for the crew. Now,
Mhm.
every helicopter had a crew of 4 people. So there was a pilot, there was an aircraft commander, and there was myself as the crew chief and a gunner, a door gunner. While we were in the air, I also had the responsibility as a door gunner, which was a natural for me because I was infantry trained. I was a weapons specialist, so I unlike many crew chiefs, I was very familiar with the weapon systems.
And what was the reason you volunteered? Was it national pride or?
Yeah, I would say I was raised with the notion that if you're that there was a responsibility to serve country. My father had been a soldier in the Second War, and his father a soldier in the First War, and his father in the war with Spain. And there may have been other family members who had fought in wars. And it was just in the community where I grew up. I grew up in a small rural farming community in Northwest Pennsylvania. A small town at that time named Waterford, Pennsylvania. And the majority of the men in Waterford had served. Where I went to high school, a majority of the teachers had served either in the Second War or in the Korean War. And so what I was exposed to was that there's a certain energy that people who have served carry. There's a certain energy, and there's a way in which we interact with each other that is particular to that military culture, to military culture, and I think that was sort of in the air. And I was also very athletic, and what I understand today is most competitive athletics is simply paramilitary training.
Mm.
Yes, there's a lot of military talk that's wrapped up in athletics. So it was just what I was, just what you do. You join the military. Yeah. And then I didn't know, when I joined the military, I didn't know anything about Vietnam. I didn't even know they were fighting there. I learned that in the military. And then when I went into the military, the U.S. was just beginning to escalate its involvement in Vietnam. And I knew that, if there's a war going on, it's my duty to serve. And so that's why I volunteered. I mean, it's not the only reason I volunteered, but that's one of the reasons I volunteered.
Right. And obviously, after that, you had a lot of PTSD, but I'm curious about your experience while you were serving. Was
Mm.
there that moral friction as well?
Was there what?
A moral friction between what you were doing and what you knew that you needed to do?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And what I understood, well, I understood pretty quickly that um, all of the ideological reasons behind war, that 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 sort of encouraged me to serve. All of the reasons for the fighting in Vietnam, they were illusions. It wasn't. None of it was. It didn't have. War didn't have anything to do with any of that. What was going on there didn't have anything to do with any of that. So it quickly became just about staying alive and helping the people around me to stay alive, and being of service in the ways in which I could. And in war, it's about um, killing people and blowing things up, and
Yeah.
that's happening. That's happening on all sides that are involved.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was for you. It was just a duty that you had to do. You
Well,
didn't.
once I was there, it's like, okay, so I'm really intent on surviving this. I don't think consciously. Um, I didn't. There wasn't a lot of thought there. This is simply what I'm here, and this is what I do. Yeah, and I have these things to take care of right in front of me, and when I'm flying, I have these things to take care of right here, and when we're under fire, there's a way to function. It's how I'm trained, and it was just about doing. This is interesting, right? But doing what's right in front of you to do. That's Zen practice.
Okay, but then after you came back, you didn't have a home to live, and all that PTSD came in. Could you talk to me about that, the post-war?
Okay. So what I will say is that when I talk about post-traumatic stress, I remove the D from it. So because we are not disordered, um, our response to the world makes absolute sense based on our experiences. So when you say disordered, means there's a certain set of criteria or a certain sort of a number of functions that can be performed that you can become ordered. So if you're disordered, then you ought to be able to become ordered. And I'm not disordered. And my experience of the world has been forever changed. It's like all of the illusions I had, all of the ideas I had about the world, about life, about service, they were just wiped away.
Hmm.
And so, and post-traumatic stress, I can't honestly say that. I don't like to say this is someone's more post-traumatic stress than another person. And yeah, I came back profoundly affected by I came back living the reality of post-traumatic stress and moral injury.
Hmm.
And moral injury is simply the betrayal of what is right by people in positions of power. Um, I, I didn't know that. I know that today. I didn't know that then. I just
Hmm.
didn't fit. Life outside of combat didn't make any sense.
Hmm.
And also, when exposed to combat and exposed to the intensity of feelings and emotions that and the chemical reactions that take place in your body when you are so intense that once removed from that, the rest life seems pretty dull.
Right.
Yeah, and
But
so go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, so to deal with the recurring memories of the war and the things that were not so nice, to be living in a society that was very anti-war, and to feel anything, I would do. I took everything to extremes. So it was about in essence, because I couldn't replicate the feelings, I didn't want to feel anything, and to not feel anything, I used alcohol, other drugs to not feel.
Hmm. And eventually, how did you find out about Zen Buddhism, of all the spiritual practices?
Yeah. Well, I would say that I studied. I started the study of martial arts when I was very young, and I studied with Asian teachers. I never studied in one of these white boys' schools. I studied with I studied with real people. Yeah, they brought their art with them from Asia, so China and Korea, and they there I was exposed to another way of looking at, viewing and looking at the world, and also I was exposed to a kind of meditation, kind of sitting meditation, but it's not that which is rooted in Shakyamuni's experience, what he's passed on to others. Um, but it was there somehow. There was I knew there was another way to live my life other than how I was living it. I think let me think about this. 1983 is when I stopped taking alcohol and other drugs. Big step. And I stayed abstinent since. 1989, 1990, I was in therapy with a social worker, and the social worker brought to my attention that there was a Buddhist monk who was doing some work with Vietnam veterans and having some success. And it would be really good if I could meet this person. However, they lived in France, and I lived in the U.S., and I was unemployable. I didn't have any money, couldn't hold a job, and the social worker recommended this particular monk had written some books, and the social worker recommended that I read the books. I said sure, and I didn't have any intention of reading those books, because what in the world could a Buddhist monk ever have to offer me? I mean, they didn't. What, you don't understand what I'm living with here. But I don't need this religious stuff. Get it out of here. About a couple months later, in this, I was in a group, a therapy group, with there was men and women in this therapy group, and one of the people from the group, about 2 months after the social worker had made this invitation to me, came in with a catalog from a Holistic Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, and which is upriver from the city. This particular monk was going to be at this Holistic Institute doing a retreat for Vietnam veterans. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. I would love to go. I said, geez, I can't go. I don't have any money. They turned the page and had highlighted, we give scholarships. So I was sort of put in a corner. So I agreed to go. I called the people up, told them who I was, what I was about, and those who were managing the institute were recommending that I don't come. I was a bit too fringe for them. But the people who were organizing for this particular monk said, we don't turn anybody away. So I went to this retreat. I was very skeptical. I was very edgy, but something started to happen there, and I really can't tell you what it was. Something started to happen there. I started to take the risk to talk for the first time about the war, about my experiences in the war. I wasn't honest yet. I couldn't yet really talk about what I had experienced and what it felt like and what I'd seen and witnessed. I couldn't really talk about all of it, so I was still minimizing. But I began that process, and I realized that I wasn't alone. And there was something about what this particular monk was offering, the structure, it was something that resonated with me. And I went the last day of the retreat. I went to talk to this monk, and just I went to make amends, to say I was sorry for all the damage and everything that I was responsible for in the war. And his assistant said, "Hey, look," I said, but I wasn't able to say that. I just said I want to go back to Vietnam. And then the assistant spoke up and said, "Hey, look, if you go back to Vietnam now, you'll be exploited." He said, "Look, why don't you come to our monastery? Let us help you. We can help you." And I'd never heard anyone in this country, in my country, say that to me. And really, I just burst into tears. And I said I would come, but I don't have any money. They said, "You make a commitment to come. Let's see what happens." I made the commitment to come, and people started sending me money to buy a ticket. Yeah. So suddenly I had all this money. I had to make a decision. Do I buy the ticket or do I go to the Caribbean or something, chill? But I couldn't do it. I bought the ticket and I went to the monastery, which is in France. And yeah, I just kept doing the next thing that was in front of me.
I'm really interested about the aspect of suffering. Could you describe why previously you weren't able to talk about your experience, but suddenly in this retreat, you were able to, like, why previously you couldn't talk about that suffering?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with conditioning. So the people that I was conditioned that you don't talk about that stuff. You just get on with your life. Why waste your time talking about it? Nobody will understand. And why bring up all that pain and misery why do that? There's just no point in it. Just leave it alone. However, by not talking about it, you still carry it. It still affects you. It still affected me in ways seen and not seen, ways unseen. So I was continuing to act out this suffering. I was continuing to run my life. But I wasn't aware of that. I only became aware of it when I started to take the risk to begin to speak about this.
I see.
Um, suffering also is, well, it, the primary foundational teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha are the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths. First, there is suffering. The second truth are the causes of suffering. Selfish desire and craving backed by ignorance. The third noble truth says where there's a cause, suffering, there's a cure. And the fourth noble truth gives the cure, points you in the direction of the cure. But the cure isn't the elimination of suffering. It's learning to live at peace with our unpeacefulness.
Mm.
Yes. And so it's about, yeah, it's not about, it's not that I can sit down and study. I can't go to a Buddhist college and study and get all these degrees in Buddhism and then continue to live my life like I always did. It's how do I take these essential practices and apply them in my daily life? And one of the most important things that I make an effort to communicate to people is that meditation and daily life are not two things. Meditation isn't something that we do. It is experiential. But we need structure and discipline to be able to realize what prevents us from experiencing the reality of meditation.
Right. Is a lot of the point of meditation to put you at distance from your ego, which is the root cause of suffering?
No, it's just to help me to learn to live in right relation with that.
Right.
Because, I mean, there's no possibility to wake up without this word. This word is so thrown around in spiritual circles. It's like kind of nerves me. Some like fingernails on a blackboard. But because often I'll tell people when they start throwing a word around, I'll say, "Oh, look, get a pen and a piece of paper and write the word down, fold it up, find a safe place free of leaves and debris, light that paper on fire, let it burn, and don't use the word again." Yes, self. Yeah. Um, yes, it's about right relation with self. Without a strong sense of self, I can't do this.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's the misappropriation. It's the abuse of. It's the exploitation of. This is what is important to wake up to, and how conditioning has me locked into the ways in which I abuse, exploit, take advantage of, avoid,
Mhm.
instead of being willing to engage. First with my own, well, my own, and then see as I begin to wake up to my own conditioned nature and my own suffering, and I'm able then to become I'm able to come more and more in contact with the interconnected reality that I'm a part of. I'm just a small part of this whole expanse that we call experience.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So then after the retreat, you also went on so many pilgrimages.
Yeah.
And you said that before we started the recording that it felt like this was the way of life for you. What's your favorite part about just walking for thousands of miles?
Oh, I don't know that there is a favorite part. I
Okay.
just find it, it's just such a powerful practice. Walking just to walk. So I do think I live quite a traditional life when it comes to monastic traditions. So when I'm on pilgrimage, right, I don't have a sleeping bag. I don't have anything but my robe, my formal robe. Um, we, I walk, and the people who want to walk with me, they're welcome to do it. I don't take too many, but if people are wanting to walk with me, they're willing to walk with me as long as during that period of time they accept me as their teacher and they follow instructions. They don't want to follow instructions, I send them home. So um, get up in the morning and we prepare our things, ready to be on the road. We sit for a prescribed period of time. We do a series of recitations. And then if there's any food, we have breakfast and then we're on the road. We're on the road by daylight. I never walk before daylight or after the sun sets. I never walk in the dark. Never.
Hmm.
Um, so, and we walk 15, 18, 20 miles a day.
Wow.
And we walk from village to village. And we walk without money, no money, no money, no cell phones, nothing, just a piece of ID. That's all. That's all people are permitted to carry, just a piece of ID. And um, and their passports, if their passports with their visas and things, if they're visiting. So when we arrive in the village, that's that has been our destination for the day. We begin to approach the religious institutions in that village. We explain who we are, what we're doing, ask them for a simple place to stay and simple food to eat. And if they say no, then we bow to them and thank them. And we go to the next place. Um, and if everyone says no, then we sleep outside, we don't eat, and we walk to the next place.
So what did you learn from that experience?
Uh, I learned a great deal about my own conditioning.
Wow.
I watched it, how it manifested in people walking with me. There is the expectation that people will say yes and host us and they'll feed us. There's that expectation, but people are not obligated to do that. Yes, whatever faith they're engaged with encourages them, and it actually, whatever faith they're engaged with dictates that that's what they do. That they provide shelter, that they provide food, that they help those who are less fortunate. And however, you're dealing with people and people's conditioning, their own prejudices and their own ideas, and 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 I'm face to face with that all the time when I'm on pilgrimage, and my reactions to what they have to the way to that interaction is giving me insight into my conditioning. So the first group the first place I ask will say no, and I'll thank them. The second place I ask will say no, and I'll thank them. The third place it'll say no, I'll thank them. It's like I can feel it. Like, come on, man. So, but that no is giving me insight into my own conditioning, and it gives me the possibility with the disciplines of the tradition I'm ordained in to begin to live in a different relation, to recognize that conditioning and live in a different relation with it, to be at peace with my own peacefulness.
Hmm. And what about the solitude of walking so many miles?
Well, if you're walking with 5, 6, 10 people, there's not so much solitude.
Was there a stretch of period of time where you were just alone?
No,
No.
no. My assistant, I think the smallest we were was 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there any memorable anecdotes from that experience that like really showed you insights into your conditioning?
Mm, anecdotes. Well, I just described one,
Mhm.
and then there's a number of places where people were just you experience a wide diversity of humanity. So you experience some really unsuspecting offers of generosity from the places you never imagined it coming. And then you also experience some pretty harsh realities. Uh, People saying, Buddhist, wow, I'd never host you. We need to, you need to get out of my sight. And so you just say, okay, move on. And when I walked the border, um, we were often stopped by Border Patrol. And it was always just really, it was always a very interesting experience because you could see them. They drive past. We're walking, right? They drive past and you could see them. They get out of the past and you could watch them do a U-turn. And I go, okay, here we go. So they would come up and then, so we would stop and they'd come out of the car and there's usually 2 of them and they'd always have their hands on their revolver.
Mm.
Yeah. It's their training. And they'd walk up and they were always pretty polite, Hi, how are you doing? Is everything okay? Can we help you? Do you need water or anything? And my general response was, well, one thing you can do is take your hands off your revolver. We're not a threat. I'm a Buddhist monk. We're on pilgrimage, and I really appreciate your checking on us to see if we're doing okay. We're doing okay right now. We have plenty of water for today. They would say, and then I would say, if you're interested to know more about us, because I have a small shoulder bag, I'd say, with your permission, I'll go into my shoulder bag, and you can have a look in here before. But I said I have a card in here I can give to you that has some information on it. Like there's a website that you can go to, and it will explain who we are and what we're doing. Beyond what I'm telling you, you can verify that. And if you need to see any identification, we're glad to present that to you.
Mm.
So always be respectful. Yeah. And they would say, I remember one sheriff stopped us and he asked us where we were going. I said, California. He said, well, when you clear Texas, you're almost there. So it's just very interesting to meet people right where they're at. To not have an agenda, really.
Yeah.
That's for me the point of practice. I'm not walking for peace. I'm not walking for world hunger. I'm not walking for anything other than to walk and to experience, like sitting. When we're sitting, if we're sitting with the intention to feel a certain way or to accomplish a thing, we're not sitting. We're trying to get the world to conform to our ideas of it, and that is at the root of suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that a lot with my generation too, especially because we're so addicted to our phones
Oh
that
yeah,
it's hard to say still every moment, especially me. If I'm sitting still, I'm like, I need to be doing something productive. I'm wasting time if I'm just being still. So I'm trying to get out of this
I
cycle.
have one too.
Oh, you have one too?
However, when we're on pilgrimage, I also do street retreats on the street. So we'll live outside, homeless. And I've lived outside homeless in most of the major cities around the world,
Mm.
except Moscow or Beijing. I haven't yet been invited to those cities. Um, and when we go out on the street, you can only go out with the clothes you wear, one piece of ID. No phones, no nothing. When you walk on pilgrimage, no phones. No GPS is nothing.
Wow.
Yes. We do everything by roadmap, old school, analog.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No Facebook, no no social media. You know, may people may encounter us and they may, but when I walked across the US, and we're talking 1998, social media wasn't such a big thing then, not like now. Um, but I walk just to walk, see what rises. And like we arrived in Utah, and we had a young, we had a woman approach us. I think we were in a place called Topaz, Utah, and small town. And we were there to taking a small break and drinking some water. And this woman walked up and she had a bit of an attitude. And we just encounter her. And she then brought our awareness to the fact that just outside of Topaz, there had been a Japanese internment camp during the Second War. Because I'm sure you're aware of this, but in the Second War, particularly in the western part of like California, those places, they gathered up all of the Japanese people and put them in internment camps. They took away their businesses, they took them out of their homes, and there was two ways you could step out of that internment camp. You had to you could either join the military, or you could go to work in a factory that supported the military movement, and you had to take a loyalty oath. I didn't know any of that history. But through this pilgrimage, I learned more about that history. And I met a number of Japanese Americans when I got into California who had been in these, as children, had been in these camps. And they were telling me stories and sharing those stories about it. And this is stuff you wouldn't, on a day-to-day basis, you wouldn't encounter. But once we said, because she just was a bit aggressive, and I said, whoa, 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 it's okay. I said, why don't you take us out there and show us? We can do it'd be great. We can do a ceremony there. I would be very interested to go and learn. But I think that these internment camps, at least one or two of them, ought to be rebuilt.
Mm.
As standing memorials to
But
that piece of our history, but they're gone. They've been wiped out. And you just like, no, it's not okay, man. We need to know about this stuff.
yeah, absolutely. And then the one of the more cooler things that I have learned is that you returned back to Vietnam after the war. I think it's
Yes.
something you call bearing witness, which is just to go there and
No, it
not
was actually part of the pilgrimage.
okay.
Yes. So I walked across Cambodia, and then crossed into Vietnam, and then walked from South Vietnam, from the south, from Saigon. That's not really south. I know there's more south than that, but walked from Saigon to the Ben Hai River. The
Mm.
Ben Hai River was where was the was it was the place where it was the delineation between North and South when they made that decision. I think it was the 58th parallel or something like that. It was there, and there was a bridge across the Ben Hai, and there was a line painted in the middle that used to separate that turned one country into two. And I remember standing with one foot on one side and one foot on the other side on that line, looking out over the river, and to my left, down on the shore, was a French bunker from when the French occupied Vietnam. And I remember just crying,
Mm.
just crying. Just like what was all that? What was all that for? It's just like it's so senseless. Yeah. Now,
Right.
why can't we just be nice? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, and then to learn more about the history, like during the Japanese occupation of Vietnam, um, millions died of starvation because they turned Vietnam into a monoculture, to support the Japanese military. It's very much like the British did to the Irish,
Mm.
turned Ireland into a monoculture. And then that resulted in the potato famine, which then led us to, I don't know, I will say thousands or even hundreds of thousands starved to death.
Yeah. When we speak about suffering, I understand it at a individual level, but when it comes to society, what causes a whole society to inflict suffering on another? Could you speak to the psychology behind that a little bit?
I couldn't even begin.
Okay.
I'm I wouldn't. The psychology of it is not of any interest to me,
Cool.
um, because that's relegating it to the realm of ideas and theories. Um, that we are that we suffering is a natural condition of life, and if and 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 it's the idea that we are superior, or the people who propagate war. It's the idea that they are superior, or that um, that they need to that they want something that they don't that they currently don't have, so they just want to go and take it, and
Yeah.
and they use all kinds of arguments, and it it like in the Balkans, it was about. eh, I mean, the argument using war, using religion as a, as a uh, as an excuse for war is so disheartening. You know, like people have the right to believe what they want to believe. They have a right to practice whatever they want to practice. And but when I have issues when the effort is made to force people to conform to their ideas, therein lies the roots of war. And that's the notion that um, I know what's best. But like I don't have a clue. And I just know that I don't know what's best for anyone. All I can say is that I can offer you a set of disciplines that can support you if you really want to wake up.
Right.
Because waking up is not dependent on what we think or believe or say. It's dependent on what we do. And you wake up every morning and make your bed like you never slept in it. Can you do that? It's just a simple practice. You get up in the morning, you make your bed like you never slept in, then sit. Just sit 5 minutes. And I often will ask people in public what the most important thing. I'll ask you, what's the most important thing in your life?
Most important thing in my life
Mm,
right now,
good. What's that?
family.
Family. Ah, see? So what I'll do, and this is not to disagree with you, but what I'll do is I'll say, okay, people will say family, they'll say love, they'll say their spouse or their children. What I'll do is I'll then, in public, I'll do this. My assistant will be with me. And so what I'll have my assistant, and I'll tell people, I said, look, I'm going to do an exercise with you. Make an effort to just place yourself in my skin. I take my glasses off, let someone hold them for me. And then I have my assistant cover my nose and my mouth. Right? And I just let it be still. Um, I can go a pretty long time without a breath. But at a certain point, and I dramatize it a bit, I'll tap my assistant's hand, which is a sign to move it, and they won't move it. I'll tap it again, they won't move it. This is all prearranged. Then I'll grab and I'll pull away and I'll be dramatic about it and take a breath. And then I'll ask, at that moment, what was the most important thing in my life?
The breath.
One breath. One breath followed by one breath. Family is important, but without your breath, nothing exists. The very foundation of life. One breath, followed by one breath. And the most important aspect of the cycle of breath is the space in between breathing in and breathing out, or breathing out and breathing in. That space, none of us most people don't pay any attention to it. They take it for granted unless they can't get their breath. And
Right.
then, and then then I'll pull up a chair and I'll sit it in front of me facing the group. And I'll say, okay, so if someone does not believe that the breath is the very foundation of life, if they have a different idea about what really is the foundation of life, let's check out your theory. Come sit in a chair. Let me cover your nose and mouth. You see, and this brings us to an essential teaching. You know, we can think or believe whatever we want. It doesn't make it true. Yeah. I can have all kinds of theories and ideas about gravity. But if I go up to the 10th floor, step off the roof, the truth of gravity is going to show itself, man. Doesn't matter what I believe. That's the real crux of spiritual practice. It's there is a truth. There is in Buddhist practice, there are coexisting realms. There is the relative and the absolute. They are not two, and yet they are not one. They're coexisting.
Mm.
The relative world is the world of yes, no, right, wrong, good, bad. Yes. The absolute realm, there's only truth. It's not truth as we understand it in the relative realm, but it's this truth, like the foundation of life is one breath. One breath.
Mm.
Yeah.
So then when you're like caught up with day-to-day complexity, you forget that one breath, right? You're like, I have to get this project done, I have to do this, I have to do that.
Yeah.
How do you come back to those basic?
If I have a practice rooted in breath awareness, at a certain point I'll go, oh, up, oh. You see? And that's that moment of awareness. And I just slow down, just slow down. I also share with people, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So when we're trying to be quick and rushing and all that, we're more inclined to make mistakes. We just slow things down. Connect with the breath. Just slow things down. Just do what's right in front of us to do. It's amazing the amount of work we can get done. It's incredible.
Yeah. So is spirituality for you really practical? Like for a lot of people, religion means believing in some mythology and
Hmm.
a set of rules, but for you, it seems it's really practical.
Yes, if thing's not practical, it's not spiritual.
Okay.
Really, it's not. You can believe whatever you want. And that's what people fight about.
Mhm.
You know, it's like these people believe this, and these people believe this, and these people really think that they're absolutely correct, and that these people are wrong, and these people believe they're absolutely correct and they're wrong, so they're going to fight to show who's really right. I mean, like how crazy is it? It's crazy. Like, I don't care what you believe. You can believe whatever you want. I don't care. And I also tell people, I said, look, you come to practice with me, you don't have to convert. It doesn't matter. You don't have to convert. It doesn't matter what you believe. But this practice can take you more deeply into whatever your faith is.
Right. Right.
Help you transcend the ideology of it.
Right. So I want to know more practical spiritual tips. Do you have any other ones?
Yeah, come to a retreat with me.
Okay.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Come to a retreat. Where are you living?
Austin, Texas.
Austin. Oh, you're not, say Austin is about, I say by car, Austin's about maybe 12 hours.
Hmm.
Yeah. You can also get a flight probably
Yeah.
to the local airport. But so, because in a retreat, I give people instructions on different forms of an active practice. Sitting is the root form. Walking, we walk. Every day we walk. We walk. It's eating, talking, listening, working, all forms of an active practice. It's how we engage with these everyday activities that becomes the point. And so I already shared one with you.
Okay.
When you get up in the morning, you make your bed like you never slept in it.
Mm.
And then you just sit 5 minutes. Doesn't matter whether you sit on a cushion or on a bench or if you sit on a chair, it doesn't matter. But then what does matter is the posture. So I pass on to those who engage with me the posture that was given to me. And it's been passed on I'm the 83rd generation. It's been passed down and teacher to student for 83 generations to me. I'm passing it on to another generation. They will be the 84th generation. And it's not about doing whatever you want. I also we teach people like when you so in the morning when you use the sink, you brush your teeth and wash your face and whatever you do there. When you leave the sink, leave it like you never used it. Leave no traces.
Mm.
Just
Why? Just because your full awareness is there? Is that why?
yeah, it's about paying attention. It's really bringing your attention to what you're doing, and it's also showing care and respect for the things that serve us in our lives. Yeah, because when you're out on the road, man, you don't have a sink. You know, and think of the people think of the thousands of people, the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who don't have clean water to drink. They don't have enough food to eat. They don't have shelter. And so how to appreciate that which I'm privileged to have and how to care for it as I would care for any person in my life, to be sensitive and respectful and nurture.
Okay. Does do you ever think about life's purpose, or does that just come out of that practice?
Yeah, I have a uh, yes. It's just about waking up, and I don't really know what that means. So I do these things just to do them and see what grows out of that. It's certainly better than blowing up buildings and doing other things that I was doing. Yeah, it's certainly it's much more wholesome than how I was living my life um, up until I found practice. And even in the early stages of my living as an ordained monastic, you know, wasn't my life has grown. It's constantly growing and unfolding. That I have the opportunity to do this is quite amazing.
Mm.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing. That's the gift of being born in this form.
Right. And now you formed an organization, Zaltho. Uh,
Yes.
I'm curious, what's driving behind it? What type of person you want to help through that?
Oh, um, well, if people are listening to the podcast, I don't know if you'll post this along with it or not, but there is a website that people can access. They can where it explains all of what the majority of what Zaltho is doing. The website is Zaltho. That's Zaltho. So that would be Zebra Alpha Lima Tango Hotel Oscar Zaltho.org. And um, we work with homeless communities. I focus in on um, people who are living outside who may have served part of the veterans community. Um, Also, we support an organization. We support. We have a. So we have an element of the Zaltho Foundation is called the Oakwood Animal Sanctuary. So we care for abandoned animals. We provide support for them, or animals who are living outside, and we provide hospice care for animals whose caretakers can't afford to support them. We also, within a subset within the animal sanctuary, is veterans' pets healthcare. So a lot of veterans have service animals, or they have just animals that are a real support to them. They become ill or need healthcare, and they don't have enough money to cover that. So we have a fund that we can support them. We never pay for the full cost. The people who are involved with us, they have to be willing to pay what they can. Um, uh, I think there's a if you give too much, you disempower people.
Uh-huh.
And so, how to support people, how to help them, as that those who are willing to help themselves. Like I do a public talk, you know, and usually there's a fee, small. It's enough to cover the people who organize the talk. They produce posters, they rent rooms, um, and they do advertisement, and so that all costs money. And they also contribute to my travel. Um, so the fee that's charged is charged to cover the expenses of the others. And if people want to support the work that I do, then they're welcome to donate. That's where Zaltho's money comes from. It comes from donations.
Mhm.
And so we also work with people in prisons. Um, let's see. We facilitate online sittings Thursdays and Saturdays. I do an open session of questions and responses on Sunday online. I have a veterans group Sunday evenings online. Um, and then I also travel a great deal. I go into war zone. Like last year, I was into Ukraine from the end of August till the first part of September. I'll go back again this year. Um, it's and and people there were just overwhelmed that I would come because they've invited other people to come that they won't go. And like
Mm.
we need to be in those places. That's where we need to go. Those of us who wear these clothes. That's our commitment, our obligation.
Is
I
it to
work with
promote peace, or is it for
what's that?
some? Is it to promote peace when you go?
No, I don't know. What's peace?
Okay.
There's so many ideas of peace. I stay away from these. It's just to be present, offer what I offer, and see what support I can be. And it is about bearing witness and learning and seeing how I can support people right where they're at. What are the needs? Just assuming that they need this, that, and the next thing is arrogant. I need to go there. I need to meet people. I need to see what the circumstances are. I need them to teach me and inform me. That's practice.
Mm.
Yes.
One of the journeys that I'm personally on is I'm in a search for God. I see so many religions, everybody's divided, and I want that connection to the divine, and therefore I've been exploring all religions. So I want
Sure.
to pose you this question, and I
Sure.
feel like I already have an idea of what you're gonna say. Do you believe in God?
I neither believe nor disbelieve.
Okay.
And if it if that works for you, great. And I will say, if you come and practice with me, then it can help you to go more deeply into. It can help you discover what prevents you from actualizing what it is that you're looking for. Because I will invite you to stop looking. Stop looking, because we're so busy getting our life to conform to our ideas of it that when the reality of it visits us, we won't recognize it because it doesn't match our idea. So this is about letting go of your ideas. Yes, and also I know in Buddhist iconography there are, well, let's say Buddhist in certain Buddhist in certain Buddhist teachings there are God realms. But the gods in Buddhist realms are not nice. Yeah, they are exploitive. They abuse us. They abuse those who are lesser than them. They take advantage of them. All that which is lesser than them is there for their own satisfaction. Doesn't that sound like humanity in a way?
That is, yeah.
Yeah, but yes, um, yeah, this is just like that. I neither believe nor disbelieve. It's
Yeah.
my
That
my I want to be as present as I can be and find out and discover in the process of being what prevents me from being present. I have no idea what that really means. I know when I'm not, though.
mm. So
Yeah.
for you, it's, not getting caught up in those mental concepts,
Y-
actualize the
Yes,
divine.
not getting caught up in my ideas of things.
Okay.
Yeah. Because when I say, what's the most important thing in your life? And people go, love. And I go, so what is the archetypal image of love?
Mm.
Romeo and Juliet. And how did that work out? In the West, that is. And how did that work out? They both committed suicide. I think that's the archetypal image of love. That's not love, man. Come on.
Mm.
What is love? I can't. All I know is that if I let go of my idea, that when it touches me, I will know.
And that relates to all the conditioning, right? When you
Yes.
giving the example of you asking for hotels, it's like that's when your condition comes up in the realms of ideas.
Yes, exactly. That's how it shows itself.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, your family's important. I understand that. But then to a lot of people create suffering because of their ideas of what family means. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful, Anshin. It was a pleasure talking with you. You have
Yes.
an amazing journey, and I'll look into it, and I hopefully, if I ever get the time, I'll definitely join you for a retreat.
What do you mean if you get the time? Make the
I
time.
get the time, I will.
Yeah. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast, please visit the website. There's also a social media presence. There are podcasts on all of the major podcast stations. Um, let's see, there are also social media posts available through Facebook, Instagram, all of that. You won't find me on social media. I have no presence, but the foundation does. And so I'm not difficult. I mean, the foundation's not difficult to find. And if there's any way you have of uh, putting it up in writing to your listening audience, and Zaltho, Zaltho, the Zaltho Foundation, that would be appreciative. But
Yeah,
Marat, it's a pleasure to meet you, man.
likewise.
Yeah,
So much wisdom. Thank you so much.
yeah, it'd be really nice to meet you for real. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
real.
I'll definitely make an attempt. I will check out the whenever the retreats are listed, and I will.
Yes, and we have I have contact information from you, so if I'm down Austin way,
Yeah, yeah. Of course, I would love to take you out for dinner or whatever is the appropriate Zen Buddhist ways to do it.
uh,
I'll do it.